Okay, so today on Thursday we're gonna finish the lecture for week 1. So I'm gonna go over number 10 and everything all the way to the bottom. So we're gonna be able to finish everything today. Okay, so we're gonna start with number 10. We have some application problems here, some word problems, and then after that we're gonna solve quadratic equation using the quadratic formula, and also I'm gonna show you factoring methods. Okay, so now number 10, we have part of a golf course is 72. If a golfer shoots rounds of 73, 70, and 75 in a tournament, what will she need to shoot on the final round to average par? So this is the keyword here, average. Okay, so do you guys know how to find the average? So average of something, you add in everything together and divide it by the number, how many there are. So here we have, obviously we have the tournament, they're playing like four different shots, right? So let's say the one I need to, the final one, let's say it's X. We don't know that, that's what you need to find. So we're gonna set up like equation. So we have 73, when you add 73, plus 70, plus 75, plus X. So we add in all the 4 shoots here. And you're going to divide everything by 4 because therefore you have to have average par of 72. That's what the par of a golf course is, right? Everybody understand that? So we add in all the given numbers plus X plus the final round divided by 4 because that's how you find the average, and that should be equal 72. And when you solve this equation, you're going to find X. So how you solve it? You have fractions. So first I'm going to multiply both sides by 4 because that's what I have in the denominator. So multiply by 4. So 4 and 4 cancel, so no more fractions. And then we're going to add 73 plus 70 plus 75. That's going to give me 218. Let me change that. 218 equals, plus X. And then when I multiply 72 times 4, it's 288. Okay, and then from here we need to solve it. We need to get X by itself. So how you get X by itself? We're going to subtract 218. And then whatever you get is going to be X. It's going to be the final round. So 288 minus 218 is going to be 70, right? And that's the answer. X equals 70. Okay, any questions here? Everybody good? Okay. Going to the next one, number 11. We have another word problem where you have the National Hockey League rink is 1/15 longer than it's wide. So it looks like it's a rectangular shape. And the perimeter is given, and you have to find the dimension of the rink. So let's say this is how much wide. It's X wide, and it's 1/15 longer. So it's going to be the X plus 1/15. So one side is X, we don't know. The other side is X plus 1/15 because longer means plus. And then the perimeter is 570. Now, the formula to find the perimeter of rectangle is 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. So you're adding pretty much all the sides. So when I add, because this side is X, the other one is also X, right? So it's going to be 2X plus 2 times the other side, x plus 150. So this is how the perimeter looks like. And this should be 570 because the perimeter is given. Okay? And then from here, I'm going to delete this x. That's not confusing. Okay, so from here, we just have to solve this equation. So the information given for the perimeter help us to set up the equation. And then you're going to solve it. You're going to do 26 first. So I'm going to multiply 2 times x, 2 times 115. So I have 2x plus another 2x plus, what is 2 times 150 is 230, right? Equals 570. And then from here, we're going to combine 2x plus 2x, and we're going to subtract 230 in the other side. We're going to move 230 in the other side because you want to get x's in one side, so that's 4x equals, when you subtract 570 minus 230, it's going to be 340. And then you're going to divide both sides by 4 to get x by itself. So here, this is application on linear equation. So when you set up your equation, you're going to get linear. So when you divide 340, it's going to give me 85. So one of the sides, so x is 85. So that was the, so it's the width or the length. It's going to be the width. That's the x, right? So the width is going to be 85. And then what is the length? The length is going to be when you add when you add 85 plus 115. That's how you get that. So 85 plus 115 is going to be 200. Okay? Everybody good with this? Any questions? Hold on. Yes. Okay, let me see the questions on the chat. To find the perimeter, you add in all the sides. That's the formula. You add in all the sides. 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. So you add in all the sides. Yes, that's correct. James is right. 2L plus 2W. Yes. Yes, so that is the formula to find the perimeter. Let me write the formula here. So the perimeter, the formula is 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. And this is the formula for rectangular, okay? Okay, any other questions? Yes, that's correct. Okay, any questions on this? So you're using the given information to set up equation, and then you solve the equation. Now, after you, welcome Darius, after you solve it, you have to see what they're asking. Here, they're not asking only what is x, they're asking what is the length, what is the width, so you have to find two numbers, okay? Okay, so now, next one, number 12. Moving to number 12, and number 12 have a shortcut, or I can just solve it the way you're supposed to solve it first. But in this scenario, there's a shortcut. Do you want to know both of those or just the shortcut? Let me show you how to do it. Both. Okay, yes, that's what I was going to do. So we're going to solve this first, and then I'll show you the shortcut. Okay, so this is how you solve it. So we're gonna, in all these type of questions where you have, when you're talking about the velocity, the time, and the rate, this is the formula you're using. Do you know the formula between the velocity, the speed, the rate, which is the rate technically, the time and the distance? Do you know the formula? So what is the distance is equal what? The rate times the speed times the time. Okay? So this is the formula you're going to use. Everybody know that formula, right? So when you have to find the distance, how long is from here to Austin? If you want to find the distance, you multiply how fast you're driving times how long it's going to take you to get to Austin, for example. Okay? So this is the formula you're going to use. Now this formula, you can solve it for the distance, you can solve it for the rate, you can solve it for the time, depends what you need. Okay? So I'm just writing the formula and let's see if I need something, if I need the rate or if I need the velocity or the rate, doesn't matter, it's the same, or the time. I'm going to show how to solve it. So now, here we have two case scenarios. We have a plane fly 350 miles per hour in still air. So that's the speed of the rate of the plane. If it fly 190 miles downwind and the same amount of time in fly upwind, we need to find the velocity of the wind. So that's the question. What is the rate? What is the speed of the wind? So this is going to be my x. Okay. So here we have two case scenarios. You have when the plane is going downwind or upwind. So this is the two case scenario, down and up, right? So I'm going to set up a little table here, so it's going to be easier to understand and see what's going on. So I'm setting up a little table. So these are my case scenario. We have, let's say, downwind, and we have upwind, right? Then I'm going to put, using in this form, you have the distance, the rate, and the time. What is the distance, what is the rate, and what is the time? So now, if the plane is going downwind, what's happened? Downwind fly 190 miles. So 190 miles is the distance, right? So I'm going to put 190 miles here. And it's fly 125 down, 125 miles upwind, right? So we're going to try to fill up the table. And that's going to help us to get more clear picture what's going on. So I have the distance is given. They give me the distance, the rate. What is the rate? Now, when the plane is going upwind or downwind, the wind is gonna push the plane to go faster or it's gonna slow it down, right? So if the original speed of the plane in still air is 315, then if you're going downwind, the wind is gonna push it or it's gonna slow it down. What do you think? It's gonna push it. It's gonna go faster, right? So the speed is gonna be 315 plus x. And then if you're going against the wind or upwind, it's gonna be 315 miles per hour minus whatever is the speed of the wind. Okay? So this is how you have this table set up so far. Now the time, what they're talking about the time. They said the time the plane is going in the same amount of time. So this is what you're going to use to set up your equation. The same amount of time. Okay? So that means I'm going to use my formula. I'm going to solve my formula for the time. And how you get time by itself. You're going to divide this equation both sides by, if I want to get t by itself in this formula, I'm going to divide by r. So the time is going to be the distance divided by the rate. Okay? Everybody understand that? how I solved this formula for the time? So that's the formula I'm going to use to fill out the table for the time. So in the table, I know the time is distance divided by the rate. So they give me the distance, they give me the rate. So downwind, the time to travel 190 miles is going to be 190, which is the distance, 190 divided by the rate, the speed, 350 plus x. And the same way for the upwind. So it's going to be 125 is the distance divided by 350 plus x. And then, I'm sorry, minus x, right? And then from here, we're going to solve this equation. Now, they tell us that the same amount of time. So this time and this time are the same. They're equal to each other. So that's what the equation, that's how the equation is going to look like. So the equation I have to solve is going to be 190 over 350 plus x equals 125 over 350 minus x. So this is the equation we have to solve. Okay? How are we going to solve this equation? We're going to cross multiply. So we're going to multiply this 190 times the bottom equals 125 times the other bottom. And when you do that, you're going to solve it. So we have 190 times, yes, that's exactly what I'm doing. Butterfly method, yes, that's correct. Some people call it butterfly method. So multiply 190 times 350 minus x equals 125 times 350 plus x. Okay? And then we're going to do the parentheses. We're going to multiply 190 times this, 190 times this, 125 both of those multiplying. And you're going to get x by itself. And after I find out the x, that's my answer. That's the velocity of the wind. Okay? So let's do the parentheses. So we multiply 190 times 350. I'm using calculator in my phone, so it's going to be 59,850. Okay? Okay, and then I have one, so it's going to be minus 190 times x equals, when I multiply 125 times 350, I'm going to get 39,375. And then 125 times x is going to be plus 125x. Okay, so that's what we have. Now from here, we have to get x by itself. So obviously, I can move 125 next to 190, or I can move 190 next to 125, doesn't matter. I'm going to move 190 because it's negative, so I want to work with positive, so we're going to add 190x in both sides. And this cancel. And that will give me the 190 plus 125 is 350x. And then I can just bring everything down, or if you want, you can just do two steps together. You can subtract. So because x is in the right side, I can move 39,000 in the other side. And I'm going to get, what I'm going to get, 59,850 minus 39,375. That gives me 20,475. So this is the equation I have. 20,000 for 75 equals 315x. And then when I divide, so the last step is going to be divide by 315 to get x by itself. We're going to get x equals, so 20,000 for 75 divided by 315 is going to give me 65. Okay? So when I divide these two numbers, I'm going to get 65. Okay? So that's how we solve this equation. Let me know if you guys have any questions on this. I know it's a little longer, and I told you I'm going to give you a different way, a little shortcut here. So for scenario like this, when they give you like upwind, downwind, or if it's if you have like a boat going down the river or up the river, depends what you have. Like scenario like this, when they give you the distance, and they say the time is the same, going up and down. Then the case like this, you can solve it with a shortcut. You ready for the shortcut? So this is the shortcut. You get how many miles is going down? 190. How many miles is going up? And you subtract them. So 190 minus 125 is going to be exactly 65. And that's the shortcut here. Okay? Any questions? I know, it's funny, right? Okay. Now, if you know different ways, you can decide which one is the shortcut and which one is easier to do, right? But so this is a shortcut. You can use it if you want to. Okay? Any questions? Okay. Do you guys need a little break or you want to continue?
I could use a break. My brain is kind of fried.
Yes, let's do that. Let's do that. Yes. I'm gonna stop. So here we're gonna continue with number 13 is the next one. And number 13, we have this pretty normal window with the dimension shown. So we have a rectangular base. So this is important. It's a rectangular base. It's not a square. Keep that in mind. Top by semicircle. Okay? So they give me the area of the window is 44.2. So that's the area. And you have to find the height from the top of the window all the way to the bottom. And it says round to the nearest whole number. So read that because you don't keep a decimal, you just round to whatever it says. Okay, so the whole number you're going to find for the height. So here you go. We're going to start with area is given, and the formula for area of rectangle is not a square. So the area in the bottom is going to be length times width, right? That's the formula. And the top area, the area of the circle, the circle has area pi r squared. And because it has semicircle, half of it, I'm going to divide by 2. So the area in the top is this formula going to follow. The area in the bottom, this is the formula going to follow. And when you add those two formulas, the top and the bottom, the total area of that window is 44.2. So this is what you're using to set up the equation. Okay? So now let's see what is given. We have given this is 6. So that means the side, the semicircle, the diameter of the semicircle is also 6, right? So what is the radius of the circle? Can you tell me?
3.
3, that's right. So this is 3, this is 3, everything is 3 here. Okay? So the radius is 3, the height from the top to the bottom. Now, if this is 3, so the radius is 3, we can find the area of the semicircle, right? So I'm going to replace the radius with 3 and that's it. So the area of the semicircle is going to be pi times 3 squared divided by 2. That's the area. Plus, now we're looking at the, what is called the rectangle now. So one of the sides is 6. What is the other side? So we need to find this side.
I guess X.
You can use X or you can use H because they're asking me to find H. If everything is H, from the top to here is what? This is 3, right? Because we know the radius is 3, so all of this little radius is given there 3. So from the here to the top is 3. So if this part, the top part is 3, then the bottom part is going to be H minus 3, right? So in that way, you're using H, not another variable to put there. Okay, so the area for the bottom part of the window is going to be 6 times H minus 3, length times width, and that the total area is 44.2. And this is my equation. This is what I need to solve. Okay? So now, because they asked me to round, so I can just put in my calculator, what is this area here? I can just calculate it in simple app. Okay? So, let me use this. Single app. Okay, I'm gonna just put the number there. So we have pi right here, pi, and then 3, just the way it is, square divided, not like that. Divided by 2, right? So you can do it like that. And my answer is, and I'm going to get the decimal, 14.14 because 137 you round 14. So I'm going to use it like this, 14.14 plus I'm going to distribute here 6h, and 6 times 3 is 18, equals 44.2. Then I'm going to combine 14.14 minus 18. I'm going to subtract those. And that gives me negative 3.86 plus 6h equals 44.2. Then I'm going to move the number 3.86 over. I'm going to add 3.86. And I'm going to get 6h equals, when I add those two, it's going to be 40. Oh, no, hold on. 3.86. So I have 44.2 plus 3.86 is 48.06. And then I'm going to divide by 6 both sides. And get h equals 8.01. Okay, and it says round to the whole number. So h is going to be what? 8 feet. Okay, any questions? You just find both and add them to get the, yes, that's correct. I'm going to find both and I'm going to add them to get the total area. Yes, that's correct. Okay, any questions on this? Everybody good? Okay, so number 14 and the rest of the questions we have, they're about solving quadratic equation. And last time we figured out how you know if it's a quadratic equation. The equation is quadratic when you have x squared, when you have square. Now sometimes the equations when they have square, when you try to do the parentheses and move side to side, the square cancels, so you solve linear actually. But if the x squared doesn't cancel, if the x squared is still there, you have to solve it in different methods. So when you solve quadratic equation, we're solving it with different methods. And I'm going to show you there are technically 4 different methods of solving. One of them is using quadratic formula, which works always. That's what I'm going to show you. Another method is factoring method, but not all equations are factorable. So you can use that method only sometimes, only for some equations. Then we have square root property, and this is also for only some type of equations. And also there's another method which is called completing the square, which is very long method, and I can show you how that works, but it's a long method. Quadratic formula do the job faster and easier, okay? So quadratic formula and completing the square, they work for any quadratic equation. Factoring and square root property, they work only for specific type of equations. Make sense? So now, I'm going to start with number 14 and I'm going to show you how to do the factoring method. And factoring, this equation is good to solve with factoring. So in general, the quadratic equation have this form: ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So I'm putting all these letters because a is in front of x squared, so usually have number in front of x squared. B is the number in front of x, that's the number, whatever is in front of x, and then usually it's a number by itself in the end. So this is in general, this is the form of the quadratic equation. When you do the parentheses, this is what you're going to get. You're going to have x squared, you're going to have x, you're going to have number probably by itself, and everything should be equal to 0. So when you put your equation in this form, after you do the parentheses, simplify, it's going to look like this. So now, when there is no number by itself, like number 14, so you have x squared plus 3x, there is no number by itself. So factoring, it's easy to do if c is equal to 0, which means there is no number. You have only x squared and x. You can do factoring. It's easier to do factoring if you don't have number. Like number 15, you have 9x squared, negative 6x minus 8 equals 0. So for 15, we're going to use the formula. Now looking at number 16, what number 16 have? 16 down here have x squared and number. So when there is no b, when there is no x by itself, when b is equal to 0, you can use the square root property. Okay? So this is how you know which method to use. If you have x squared x a number, you can use the formula, or you can use completing the square, but it's a long way, and I can show that in the end. Don't worry about it right now. So quadratic formula, if you have a, b, and c, if you have x squared x a number, use the quadratic formula. If b is 0, which means no x, b is 0 means no x in the equation, then use the square root property. That's the fastest way to solve it. And if there is no c, if c is 0, that means no number. And remember the hashtag means number in math. Okay, then you're going to use the factoring method. Okay, any questions so far? So now let's go ahead and start with number 14, where we have x squared and x equals 0, and we're going to factor. Factor is opposite of distributing. So looking at my equation, I have, let me make this a little bit like this. So factoring, I have x squared plus 3x. So both of those terms have x. This half x and this half x. Technically, x squared means x times x. So I'm going to rewrite this x times x plus 3 times x equals 0. I'm rewriting it like this, so you see that both of those have 1x, which I'm going to factor out. I'm going to pull 1x from here, 1x from here. So that x is going to factor in front. And then in the parentheses, I'm going to write what is left. So what is left? When I pull 1x from the first out, what is left? The other x is left. Plus, when I pull out the x in front, what is left? 3. So this is how you factor it. You pull 1x from each of the terms, and inside you have left with x plus 3. Now, looking at this equation we get so far, we have x times x plus 3 equals 0. Now, here we're using the zero product property, which sounds very fancy, but what that means is if you multiply two numbers and you want to get 0, one of the numbers have to be 0, right? Because 0 times anything is 0. So that's property, or that's kind of common sense you're using here. So if I have this 0, if x is 0 times whatever the other one is, I'm going to get 0. 0 times everything is 0. So I'm going to set x equals 0, and that's my first answer. X equals 0. Now, also, if x is not 0, I can have the second part 0. So also I can solve x plus 3 equals 0. When I set both of those 0, I'm going to get two answers. So I'm going to subtract 3 in this one to solve it. And you're going to get x equals negative 3. So this is my second answer. So now, remember this rule. If you solve linear equation, if you have x and numbers only, you're going to have only one answer as a solution. X equals one number. If you're solving quadratic equation, which have x squared, you're going to have two answers. X equals 0, x equals negative 3. If your equation have exponent 3, if it's x cubed, you're going to get maximum of 3 answers. You're going to have 3 numbers for x. Okay, make sense? So the highest exponent in your equation tells you how many solutions you're going to get. Okay? So remember, when you solve quadratic, you're always going to get 2 answers. Okay, so the answer for number 14 we get is 0 and negative 3. And you just put in the box, just put the 2 numbers with comma. 0, comma, negative 3. That's how you enter your answers. Okay? Any questions? Everybody understand that? So this is factoring method. You pull out 1x, write down what is left, and then set each of the factors equals 0. Okay? Then, questions now? Okay, going to the next method, which is quadratic formula. And this is just a formula. So we're going to get what is A, B, and C from the equation. Obviously, looking at the equation, you can tell what is A, what is B, what is C. And you're going to plug those numbers in the formula. I'm going to write the formula here for you. So when I have ax squared, bx, and c equals 0, the solution for this equation is going to be x equals, it's a little big formula, but I'll show it easy to do. So it's negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac and everything over 2 times a. So this is the quadratic formula. And what you're going to do, we're going to find ABC from the equation, and you're going to replace ABC into the formula, and then you're going to simplify. Now, these plus and minus together give you the two answers. You can use plus once, and then you can use minus the second time, and that's how you're going to get two answers. Okay? And you can use calculator to simplify this. It's not difficult to simplify. So let's start with finding A, B, and C first. So looking at my equation, A is always the number in front of x squared, B is always the number in front of x, and the number goes with the sign before, so it's going to be negative 6. And C is the number with no x. So I'm going to write it down first. So A is 9, B, oops, sorry. What I did here, hold on a second. Okay, so A is 9, B is negative 6.
What are you in for?
Yes.
How did you get the 4?
This is from the formula. The formula is with negative 4.
Okay.
And C is negative 8. Okay? So A is 9, B is negative 6, C is negative 8. So from the equation, A is, and you can just refer to this. A is in front of x squared, B is in front of x, C is the number by itself, and always have to be equal to 0. So from the given equation in 15, A is 9, in front of x squared is 9, in front of x is negative 6, and the number by itself is negative 8. So that's how we get A, B, and C. Then after that, we're going to replace A, B, C with these three numbers. So we're going to get x equals negative, I'm just going to copy the formula, negative B, I'm going to put parentheses. Always when you plug it in number for a letter, A, B, C, use parentheses. So I'm just going to copy the formula with parentheses first. So negative B plus or minus square root, and then I have B squared minus 4A and C, averaging over 2 times A. Okay? So looking at quadratic formula, it's like a formula. So just plug the numbers there. Okay? And I'm going to replace. So the formula is negative B. And B by itself is negative 6. Then you have B squared. So you have negative 6 again. Minus 4A and C. A is 9. And C is negative 8. And then over 2 times A was 9. So plug the numbers in the formula. Okay? Then from here, we're going to do one step like this. I'm going to do negative and negative. 2 negative give me positive 6. I'm going to put plus or minus. Now, I can just do square root in the calculator. Just do this square root. Or you can do it step by step if you want. You want to do it step by step or use calculator? Do you guys want to do it step by step or just put square root in the calculator? Let me show you the calculator and then I can do it step by step.
I mean, we'll likely be using the calculator when it comes down to it, so.
Yeah, so let's do the calculator. So in the calculator, in the symbol up, I'm going to put just the way it is. So I'm going to place square root first because I'm going to calculate everything. And then you can just do it like this, parentheses minus 6. Then get out of the parentheses. Then you press the square. Make sure you put parentheses, it's important. Minus 4, parentheses, 9, close it, open again, minus 8, close it. That's it. So when you put it like that, it's going to give you the answer. And let me move so I can see the answer is 18. Okay? Everybody see that? And if you want, you can move step by step. So the square root gives me 18. And remember, I put the square root first. So I calculate everything. The whole square root. So I put all this in the calculator. And that gives me 18. Over 2 times 9 is also 18. Okay, so after you do the square root first, and negative give me plus, from here we're going to split this. We're going to do plus, and you're going to do the minus. Remember, the plus and the minus are going to give you two answers. So I'm going to split it. I'm going to do 6 plus 18 over 18. And I'm going to do 6 minus 18 over 18. And that's how we get the two answers. Now, you can use the calculator also. So you can just put it like that. So I'm going to delete this. And I'm going to do fraction. So see, the fraction is right here, place of the fraction. Fraction. And then in the top of the fraction, you're going to put just the way it is, 6 plus 18. And then scroll down and put 18, just like that. And it's going to give you what is the answer in fraction form. Remember, we're using fractions, not decimal. So 4 over 3. So that's my answer, 4 over 3. That's my first answer. And then you can just go back and change the plus to minus in this fraction. And that's going to give you the second answer as a fraction. Okay, the second answer is negative 2 over 3. Everybody see that? Negative 2 over 3. And these are my two answers. Now, how you put it in letter sign? You can just click in the box and put slash. 4 divided by 3 like this, comma, minus 2 divided by 3. That's it. Okay, any questions on quadratic formula? We're going to do more equations with the formula so you can practice it, but pretty much these are the steps. Get ABC first, replace ABC into the formula, then do the square root in the calculator, and then you do two fractions in the calculator. That's it. Okay? Any questions? Okay, going to number 16, which is the third method. And here we have b is 0, so there's no x in this equation, and we're going to use square root property. So square root tells you what you're going to do. You're going to do square root in both sides. So the equation is x squared equals 81, so I'm going to take square root in both sides, and I'm going to get my answer. So when I take square root of x squared, that's going to give me x equals, what is square root of 81?
9.
9, good job. Square root of 81 is 9. Now, looks like we have only one answer. We need to get another one. How are we going to get the other answer? So 9 times 9 is 81, right? 9 squared is 81. Is there another number which I square and get 81 again? What's happened if I square negative number? What I'm going to get? I'm going to get positive, right? Okay, that's right. So it's going to be negative 9. So when you take square root of 81, you're technically going to get positive 9 and negative 9. Because negative times negative give you positive. So negative 9 times negative 9 is going to give you positive 81 also. So always when you take square root, you should remember that when you take square root of the number, you always put plus or minus. And that's how you get the two answers. Okay? So my answers are going to be 9 and negative 9. Or negative 9 and 9, doesn't matter which one you put first. Okay? Any questions? So square root property is fast way to do it. Just take square root. But here we have to have x squared equals number. Okay? Everybody good so far? So we're going to continue with number 17. And number 17 looks like linear equation. That's what we thought last time. But when you start solving it, you're going to see it's going to become a quadratic equation. So sometimes the quadratic become linear when you start solving it. And also sometimes linear become quadratic when you start solving it. So let's see what we have. We have fractions. We have x in the bottom. So we're going to start getting rid of the fractions. So what you're multiplying by, we're going to multiply by x because that's what the denominator is. I'm going to multiply by x both sides. So when I multiply by x in the right side, x and x cancel. Now what's happening in the left side? We're going to multiply x times negative 6. So we're going to get x times x is x squared. And x times negative 6 is negative 6x equals 16. Okay, so we have quadratic, we have x squared. So the linear equation becomes quadratic because when you get rid of the fraction, we multiply by x and that becomes quadratic. So what we have x squared, we have x, we have number. So that means you're going to use the quadratic formula. Now for quadratic formula, the equation have to be equal to 0. So for that reason, I'm going to subtract 16 in both sides to move it over. So I want it to be equal to 0. So I'm going to get x squared minus 6x minus 16 equals 0. And this is the equation I'm going to solve. So I'm going to get my ABC, and then I'm going to follow the formula. So what is A? What is in front of x squared? There is nothing there. If there is nothing, it's invisible 1. So A is going to be 1. B is going to be the number in front of x, which is negative 6. And C is also negative 16. So these are my numbers, A, B, C. Then I have to follow the quadratic formula. And I'm going to rewrite the formula here. X equals negative B plus minus B squared minus 4AC everything over 2A. So this is the formula, and I'm going to rewrite this with parentheses. So I'm going to get x equals negative b plus minus, then we have b squared minus 4a and c everything over 2a. And then I'm going to plug it in. So the formula is negative b. B was negative 6. And then I have negative 6 squared minus 4ac. A is 1. C is negative 16. And 2 times 1. So we plugged everything. Now negative and negative give me positive 6. Plus minus, I need to do the square root over 2 times 1 is 2. So let's do the square root in the calculator. So I'm going to go again here. And I'm going to have square root. And then I have parentheses negative 6 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 16. And the square root gives me 10. Okay? So it's going to be plus or minus 10. And then you're going to split it. You're going to have positive and negative. So I have 6 plus 10 over 2 and 6 minus 10 over 2. Okay, 6 plus 10 is 16. Divided by 2 is 8. I don't need calculator for this, right? Then 6 minus 10 is negative 4. Divided by 2 is negative 2. Or you can put it in the calculator if you feel more comfortable, doesn't matter. So we're going to get 8 and negative 2, and that's what you're going to put in your water sign, negative 2, comma 8. Okay? So that's how you do it, and then you have one more example to practice. So let's do the quadratic equation again, because this is another quadratic formula. So we have A, B, and C. Everything we have A, B, and C. So I'm going to use the formula. So starting with this one, I'm going to I'm gonna write it. So we have A is 1, B is 12, and C is 11. So these are my ABCs. And I'm gonna plug it in. So the equation, the quadratic formula is gonna be negative B plus minus square root B square minus 4 A and C everything over to A. And then you're going to start plugging in. So I have minus B. B was 12. And then 12 again. A and C here. 1 and 11 and 1 A in the bottom. Okay, so this is the formula. Plug it in. Then we're going to simplify. So we have negative 12 because it's only one negative, so it's going to stay negative 12 plus or minus. We need to do the square root, everything over 2 because 1 is 2. So let's do the square root. We have, I'm just going to go and change this. So we have negative 12. I'm sorry, positive 12 minus 4A, and then this is 11. Like that. Okay? And that will give me the square root is going to give me 10 also. Okay, so we have 10. And we're going to split it. We're going to do positive, we're going to do negative. So I have negative 12 plus 10 over 2. And negative 12 minus 10 over 2. So negative 12 plus 10, positive 10 is going to be negative 2 over 2, giving negative 1. That's my first answer. And then when I add negative 12 and negative 10 is negative 22. Divided by 2 is negative 11. Okay? So this is how you use the quadratic formula to solve quadratic equation. So one more time, if you have quadratic equation, if you have A, B, and C, all the numbers are in front of x squared, in front of x, and number by itself, you can use the formula. If you have B equals 0, which means there's no x, only x squared and number, you can take square root in both sides. That's the square root property, square root method. And if you have C equals 0, which means you have only x and x squared, no number, then you can just factor out x, and that's how you solve it. Okay? So this concludes the lecture for week 1, and I'm going to stop here.